Hi, everyone. My name's Greg Knight.
I'm Ricardo Avila.
It's time to update our Take 2 promo, and so we've broken out our Gen Z slang machine for Ricardo once again so that he can communicate with the kids.
I hate this.
I know you do. Here we go. The first 100 episodes of our podcast were very different from what we do now.
Those episodes are Ohio AF. You're Delulu if you think anyone stands those pods. You may as well just yeet those things out of here, no cap.
You're right, but we don't want to eliminate our show history. We want to improve it by going back into the raw audio while updating our quality.
That's the vibe. Like you're going to flex those old pods with a bougie glow up. That low-key slaps, fam. Because right now they're pretty chuggy. Good Lord.
Scroll down. Okay. Listen, culture evolves over time, and our spin-off pod, Take 2, gives us the chance to go back and evolve our old podcast right along with it.
That's a bar, chat. I think this idea is pretty lit. It beats having a big yikes sitting in our archives. You gotta bling those things out with some fresh drip if you want that new subs riz, period. God, no wonder the youth are struggling. Go ahead.
So listen to Take 2 in the Poppin' Collars feed and hear our past selves grow before your very ears.
Yeah, these pods are bussin'. You got a dub with this, plus 1,000 aura. This idea is giving. You ate.
I wonder what would happen if we changed the slang machine to the millennial setting.
Get in, loser. We're going podcasting.
Okay, that makes sense. Hello, everyone. My name's Greg Knight, and I like watching, thinking about, and talking about movies. One of the great things about starting your own podcast is that there are some days where you actually get to talk to the creators of those movies. This is one of those days. This month, I got the chance to interview Janine Thomas, the producer of a new film called The Optimist. Letterboxd.com will tell you Herbert Heller keeps his experience as a teenage boy surviving in Auschwitz hidden from his family until he meets Abby, a young teenager whose own brush with pain and death inspires him to open up as well, leading the two of them to exchange their stories as a meaningful and healing relationship is born. What I'll tell you is that this movie has a lot going for it in the performances and the cinematography. And while this Holocaust narrative will feel pretty familiar following works like Europa, Schindler's List, and Life is Beautiful, it's no less impactful in its revelations of the depths of human cruelty and the struggle for survival. This film feels more in conversation with something like A Real Pain from a year ago, which is to say that it's more of an exploration of the generational legacy of the Holocaust narrative as the generation of survivors pass away and their story is sustained by their children and grandchildren. And to intro my guest, it's not often that I get to talk to a producer, and Janine's story is unique in that this is her first film. So we did quite a bit into what it takes to move a story from idea to screen and the life lessons learned along the way. Also, it should be said that Janine is a cancer survivor as well, a reality that plays a significant role in the creation of this movie and something that we explore in our conversation. So what happens when a first-time producer makes a movie exploring the legacy of one of the worst chapters of world history? Find out when I keep things under the stole with Janine Thomas. But first, here's a trailer.
Why me?
Why you?
Yeah, why'd you pick me to tell your story to?
Maybe it's because 60 years is a long time to hold on to a secret. My father gave us a magical childhood.
How did you do it?
Boys, calm down. It's too beautiful to stay inside.
He's opening up to you.
This is why they act as though nothing bad can happen. But it's not true.
Don't stop recording.
He's some old European guy. What do I have in common with him? What a freak.
You don't play with Jews.
Or something, apparently.
No.
I came face to face with Auschwitz. Death camp.
Do you ever feel guilty for having made it?
Perhaps. And now, I want to hear your story.
I've always felt different from other people. What are you supposed to do when you've done something unforgivable?
What wrong did you do? I know it feels like it's the end of the world, but it's not. I saw the end of the world. I had a ringside seat for it.
When this war is over, we will be reunited.
I felt guilty for decades. And then I began to tell you my story. Oh, tonight my secret ends. And maybe yours could too.
I won't take up too much of your time, Janine. Thank you so much for doing this, by the way.
Yeah.
Congratulations on the movie, too.
Thank you. I know. I'm ready to give birth. It's been in the womb too long.
Well, yeah. Well, okay. I want to get into a little bit. I want to unpack a little bit of that. Let's start here because I don't really get a chance to talk to producers very often. And, there's an aspect to movie making that feels a little bit like telling people, hey, I'm going to launch myself into space. It's like people don't normally do this. So how do you get into the movie business? What gets you there?
Perseverance. I think having four children and growing them up, I can do anything now, right? I met Herbert in 2014. By 2015, I'm like, his story along with his relationship and how he affects teens when he tells his story, I'm like, it has to be a movie. I had started other companies, and to me, this just felt like a startup. I just kind of jumped in 2 feet to making this. Interestingly, I did fly down to LA and met with a friend of mine who had been on Saving Private Ryan and was talking to him about this idea. And he really helped me out. I talked to a few other people. And then on my flight home, I'm like, I think I was 42 at the time. Who am I to be making a film, or even thinking I should? And I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to put the idea over here for a little bit, continue with my tech stuff. And if it's meant to be, it'll come back around. And it did. Like within 6 months, I was doing some tech stuff. And my boss was like, oh, hey, this is Eric. You should tell him all about your idea.
Yeah.
And so I didn't have anything to lose. I told him everything I wanted to do. And I get an email 2 days later. He was a documentary director, producer. And he reached out and said, I want to help you make this film. I said, let's do it.
See, I mean, that's the thing, right? Because it's like, yeah, you got to take that leap of faith. You got to take that risk. But there's something really rewarding when the ground comes up to meet you, right? Where you're it doesn't feel like you're just falling, trying to get this thing going. Yeah.
Yeah. And I will say with that, just on the business side, there were times I had to let go, and wait for it to get brought back around, I have learned so much through making this film. Like, I had to fire some people. I had to and I've had to step up and find my voice if I wanted to make a film that I wanted to make. I had to learn to be a lot stronger.
Yeah.
It was fun.
Yeah, you have to have a guiding vision. I mean, that's part of filmmaking. Yeah. So you had the story, right? So you have the relationship with Herbert Heller. What it is that his story is and how he's connecting to teens. So how do you did you take that story to a studio, to a creator, and try to get it going that way, or did Finn have a version of this story that he gave to you? How did that collaboration work?
So I had a whole idea, and then as I told you when I met this guy Eric, and I said, I know I want to do this, I just don't know how. He's like, well, we need to get a screenwriter for you. And so we tried out a few different people. I'm like, no, no. And then we met Finn, and I said yes. And so I worked with Finn for 3 years on the script, and brought the story to Finn to craft. Interestingly, like even at the end, he's like, "Okay, I'm done with the script. Here you go." And I read it, and and here I'm surrounded by people who've been in the industry 20, 30 years. I'm like, this isn't done. This is not the script. I don't know if you've heard of Hoffman Institute. It's a place up here, in Northern California, and you go for a week and dig deep, look at some stuff, and you just immerse in yourself for a while. And I had done that and learned a lot that I wanted, like kind of in this film, at the base of it. And I'm like, you're just still not getting that. And I said, can I just send you to Hoffman for a week? And he's like, yeah. So we put the script aside, sent Finn off to Hoffman, and he really came back and he's like, whoa, integrated like his feelings for a couple months. And then, within a month, he's like, okay, now I think it's really done. And I looked at it, I'm like, okay, we're good.
Yeah.
Yep.
So coming out of that workshop process, is that when you are thinking he should direct this film as well?
No. So we had actually talked about it. He has directed a lot of his own films. We felt having a Jewish director would be good. When we got the script done, COVID hit. So we just were like, we're not sure what we're going to do for a while. And then the following year, I ended up with a diagnosis of stage 4 cancer, had to have radiation, go through all of that. And it was during that time that I realized we had to make the film, ASAP, right away, because I didn't know. Statistically, I'm very, very lucky to still be here. But I had called him and I said, we got to do this film. And we both decided he was the right director. I'm like, you just direct it.
Yeah.
And he, in hindsight, looking back, I'm really glad that everything happened the way it did. And he was the director. He knew Herbert. He, helped create the storyline. Like he was really bought into it. So it stayed the film it was meant to be.
The vital part of all of this is Herbert. So walk me through. When do you meet him? What's the story of how you get to know Herbert's story?
So one of the things I like to do now that my kids are older, I play poker sometimes.
Love it. Yeah.
For a lot of like foundation stuff and raising money. And there's this little place just up the street from me here in San Rafael, California. And so I had gone there one day to play a tournament. And long story, his grandson is sitting beside me, who I don't know. And he's talking to other people. And he says, yeah, my grandfather escaped Auschwitz. It caught my ear and I turned and I'm like, what? Nobody escaped Auschwitz. What are you talking about? And he's like, no, he did. And I said, well, please tell me the story. And he goes, he can tell you himself. And he introduced me to his grandfather the next day. And I became fast friends with Herbert, spent a lot of time with him, asked him a lot of questions that I was unable to ask my own grandfather. And, and he was able to tell me, who was not part of his family, like some of the stuff that he probably, and he told me later, he's like, I don't want my kids to look at me differently. I don't want anybody to pity me. But I think he was able to talk to me about a lot of stuff that he had been holding in. And then I saw him talking to schools and realized, wow, this is a bigger story that needs to be told. It's him connecting with teens. And so this is a film for all ages, and especially for teens and young adults to go to gain perspective, and even as a parent, I've watched this film a lot through all my festival stuff and then just at home. And I always become a better parent every time I watch it, and I created it. So I think it's an impactful film that is needed in the world today.
I think that's right. I think you nailed something that really stands out to me when I think about the story of the film, which is this idea of keeping in, right? This idea of internalizing, keeping these secrets, holding in. And there's something in the viewing that releases, it lets it out, which is what you kind of have to do, like as a parent, as a caretaker. I wonder, I'm thinking about Herbert. I'm thinking about Elsie Fisher's character, Abby. I'm thinking of even your own story. Is there is there a way where that sort of holding in, whether it's trauma, illness, whatever, it's just a way of sort of protecting yourself?
Yeah, and it's also holding on to the suffering.
Yeah.
So when I go to schools and speak with teens, I talk a little bit, have them watch the film, and then after we talk again, and I'm like, it's so important for you. I said, it doesn't matter how small it is, but if you're feeling pain, you're feeling trauma, you have to get it out of your body. You have to talk about it. And I said, if you don't have I'm like, if you don't have an adult that you want to talk to or a friend, stand in front of the mirror, talk to yourself, journal about it, just get it out of your body because that's where it lives.
Mm-hmm.
And I truly, I'll go on my ancestral trauma kick of I think it passes down from, through generations if we don't deal with it. It's important.
By this point in history, and especially, so, I'm a Gen X kid, so I grew up with, things like Schindler's List and Life is Beautiful and most recently A Real Pain from a few years ago, and this idea of not just processing the Holocaust, seeing the images of it, reminding ourselves of the stories of these people, but also what Eisenberg did and what your movie does with the Abby character is this real, like, what is the next generation? How does the next generation respond to this story, right? And not forget the Herberts of the world.
Right. Yeah. And I don't know if you know that 40% of kids today don't even believe the Holocaust happened, which blows my mind, just more so too, because it's the Holocaust, but it's our past.
Mm-hmm.
And then this film for me has helped me do a lot more research and like hear about stuff from the past, but really get to know about it. I was just watching something last night, Victoria, and there was a piece about the potato famine, which I'd always heard about, but I didn't. And this film, this TV show was like actually going into the history and the reason why it happened. And it makes such a difference.
Yes.
Because you emotionally connect with things. I was writing writing all this stuff, but yeah, I think it's important to connect it because something hits a point in ourselves that makes it feel more current. And it is current because it's coming forward in a current way. And so
it's one of the great gifts and one of the real evils of the internet, right? Is that the gift is that you are exposed to other people's stories. You should learn more about history and the world around you. And the evil is that people utilize these platforms to dispense false misinformation, disinformation, all of that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. And a sneak peek too of like continuing this work. This is just one film, but of creating more media that matters, and we've gone into a space of our regular media is very fear-based. Social media is feeding the wrong wolf for a lot of these kids, and people are jumping on that bandwagon, like you say, going in that direction. I'm really trying to pull back, and with everything that's been going on in the world, I really feel like all ages are wanting more stuff that matters.
Yeah, I was going to go in a different direction, but what you just said makes me think that there were some images from this film that at, 10, 20 years ago, I would have said, oh yeah, okay, that's like the SS. I know about this from history, all of this. And now, as we're sort of living in our current moment, it's like, ooh, this looks very much like a news story from Minnesota or something. I mean, yeah, it's just wild how we sort of fall into these traps of history. Yeah.
Yeah. And history does keep rolling forward unless we heal it. And that going back to the stories, Herbert didn't tell his story for 60 years. So we've shown this film to so many Holocaust survivors. And even if you look at today, we don't tend to talk about stuff that's controversial. We don't talk about the hard stuff. A lot of stuff is stuck inside. We have to start talking about this to get it out.
One question that I had as I was watching this movie, and thank you Thank you so much for filming on location in this movie. I like it's one of these things. It's such a simple thing as like a film watcher. I don't know anything about making films, but I know what I like to see. And what I like to see is that if something is set in Prague or in like overseas, like I want to see that, right? And there's an honesty to filming on location that doesn't translate if you're trying to copy that like in a studio or in America or digitally or whatever it is nowadays. How important was it for you to film overseas, and were you just willing to say, you know what, hey, whatever it costs, like we've got to do this for the integrity of the story?
Yeah. This was my first film, and there were people brought on, and it takes a village. I'm like, okay, teach me, teach me. There were a lot of people who wanted to either just do Prague and, make up the redwoods or just do here. And that was one of the decisions I made. I'm like, we need to do both. And yes, it costs more money, but like you say, for being honest, creating an film with integrity, we are doing both. Now, we did have to recreate Auschwitz because you're not allowed to shoot a narrative film at Auschwitz. Our production company in Prague was phenomenal. Still King, loved them, learned so much from them. They bought out a farmer's field and within 3 weeks built Auschwitz.
Wow.
Yeah. And then after the film was done, they tore it down and they put back in the seeds of whatever the farmer was growing and returned it to farmland. It was definitely the right move. It was definitely more money, but I'm glad we did that.
Yeah, it's palpable, right? I wonder, did you get a chance to show this to Herbert, like as you're like working on this film, going towards the end of his life? Did he get any input into the story? Did he get to see any production of it at all?
He died in 2021. We started shooting in 2022. But I talked to him 2 months before he passed, and I said, this film will be made, and you will be known. And I'm actually working on a full documentary of him right now that will come out on streaming. He did read the script. And in doing the script, talking of integrity, like anytime we met with him after Finn was on board and working on this, so probably 2016 on, anytime we met with Herbert, I had a team videotaping so that we could not just hear his stories, but also like return to them, and created the film from that. And his children they watched the film. They're very happy with the film. They've not seen the documentary. They'll be really happy with that too. But Herbert knew it was happening.
Stephen Lang, right? Like it shocked me. As soon as his face came up on screen, I was like, oh, the bad guy from Avatar, or like the bad guy from horror movies, or the bad guy from whatever else. And I was like, what a gift to see him in like a different role. Were you thinking of that as like when you're doing casting? Are you like, wow, okay, Stephen Lang comes with sort of this track record, maybe we can go a different direction with this?
I'm from the woods of Maine. I think I saw 3 movies in a theater before I went to college.
Yeah.
The theater was an hour away that we went to once a year. I mean, and that's kind of held over in my life, but I didn't know who Stephen Lang was.
Okay.
I didn't know, I'd never seen Avatar. So I really relied on my team, and the casting director said, Stephen Lang feels like the right one for this, and they all just gushed about him, and Finn, the director, gushed about him. And they showed me a picture. I'm like, he looks like Herbert. So if you guys say he's great, let's do it. Phenomenal choice. Amazing man. And he loves this film. He loves playing something that matters.
And then, of course, Elsie, I remember watching 8th grade on a plane with like a group of teenagers. Like we were doing a pilgrimage trip to Spain, actually. The one word that always comes up to me whenever I see her is, gosh, she's so honest. Like everything about her just feels totally authentic. And that's just got to be great to sort of see the way that her story and Herbert's story kind of weave together in this script. Must feel really good.
The casting was phenomenal, and she was wonderful to work with. Great, amazing. And then Luke Bloom, same. Like we just had the best team, and I feel like the intention was always there, and it pulled in the right people. And yeah, it's just been amazing.
So this has been a real journey. I mean, it's gone from what Avenue of the Giants, I think, was like one of the working titles for this movie or at some point, right? And then
it went
like
from Lucky Man to Avenue of the Giants. We did sell to a few positions internationally, and they named it Liberation.
when you look back over this journey, what do you think? What are some of the adjectives that come to mind as you think through this whole process?
I don't know about adjective, but I would say it's really brought me alive a lot more. I mean, here I end up with stage 4 cancer in the middle, but I feel like I'm more alive today than I was certainly before that, if, even back to starting the film. So it's really brought this new aliveness, like this purpose in my life, or being alive for a purpose, and my purpose is to help make this a better place for everybody. It's been an amazing process on so many levels. I've learned and grown.
That's really beautiful. Janine Thomas, Thank you so much. The movie is The Optimist. It is available. Where can folks find it? Is it going to be streaming? Is it going to be in theaters?
It's coming out in theaters March 11th, nationwide. It's a theater movie. It's wonderful in the theater. It'll be streaming after, but go to the theater.
Absolutely. Definitely. Yeah. Thank you so much for your
tickets
time.
Tickets are on Fandango.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. Get your tickets. Thank you so much for your time, and thank you for this great movie.
Awesome.